So good evening, everyone. Thank you for tapping back in and checking out part 2 of this RabbitMQ series. So today we're going to go ahead and create a simplified CLI apps for these publish and subscribing. We just want to give some helper function and create a RabbitMQ struct to be able to allow us to add some extensibility to it as we move forward and try to integrate it into an overall app. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So we left off with part 1, so immediately let's go ahead and check out a new branch. And if you don't know these git commands, let me know down in the comments and I'll do a quick overview of git. I'm not an expert. I know how to get by checking in, checking out code, merging, rebasing, hard resets, things like that. Basics you need to know if you're working with some type of source code repository. So anyway, right back into it. So we want to check out, let's go ahead and start on part 2. So we'll create part 2 before we make any changes, and then let's go back and kind of review what we were looking at before. So how we left off, we had a receive struct command that we could run, and this would consume anything that entered the queue. And in this situation, I believe the queue name was hello. And if we go to send, whenever you execute this, it would just send hello world and publish it inside the queue, and the queue name was the same. So let's kind of decompose this into a struct and kind of go from there and see how we can simplify this. And there's a lot of repeatable code here, so of course we want to practice dry. So let's get right into it. So let's go ahead and create a new folder here, and actually, wow, let's try to remove that. I just don't want to click it there. So let's create RMQ here, and then let's do rmq.go, right? So that creates us a new folder. So first, let's go ahead and create us a new type, and this type is going to be RabbitMQ, and it's going to be a type of struct, right? So going back to our code, and let's close out send, let's close out sum, and let's just start here, right? So to get started, we know we need to be able to connect and create a channel. So let's just take all that code there, including that func main, just to help us get started, and go ahead and go ahead and paste that in. But we're gonna want this to be part of this struct, so let's go ahead and assign that to R, right? And we're gonna call this connect, just simple connect. And so as we look at this, we see our connection string, and we were using, that was the default, so let's just clean that up. And we have a connection, we deferred the close, and then we deferred the channel close. So let's go ahead and decompose some of this and add these properties to the struct. So we have con here, and that's going to be our connection, but we're going to need that available throughout the struct. So let's go ahead really quick and create a con that equals the mqp dot connection. And we're getting an error here because we haven't declared us a package. So let's go ahead and do package rmq and go over here, and let's just import, copy this import as well. We're going to use these same imports. So now we have, so now it's happy, it's not complaining about our MQP connection, and so we can proceed. So here we have this fail on error. We don't really want that. We want to just use our default log package and handle errors normally. So let's just handle that error. So if error is not equal to nil, then let's go ahead and just write a log that is a fatal event and say fail to connect to RabbitMQ. I guess we could have copied and pasted that, huh? And then let's go ahead and put that message here, and we're gonna do an error.error, right? And so with that, we can just get rid of that line. And because this is going to be a property, we don't want to defer the close, because we're going to execute this, and if we defer the close, once this function returns, it would close out that connection. So we don't want to do that here. So next, we do want to create us a channel, right? So but we're going to want this to be global within the struct. So let's go ahead and create another one, MQ channel, and name it channel, just like that as well. And if you notice here, we have another error we need to handle. So let's go ahead and this time we will copy this and say fail to open channel. And now let's get rid of this. So now we have that error, but we have two errors in the same scope. So let's name this like channel error, so just so we have no clash, because if this error happens to have nil, I guess the fatal will catch it, so we don't have to worry about it. But let's, for sake of clarity, this is to catch the channel error, and if we have a channel error, let's go ahead and write that out. And then here we're going to like I said, if the channel will fail out the program. And now let's take the con and the connection in the channel and add it to the struct. So let's do r.con. Oh my goodness, equals con, and let's do r.channel and let that equal to the channel. All right, so now we have that piece knocked out. So that's going to handle our connection. So let's go back and see what we did next. So after that, we declared a queue. So let's go ahead and take that code there and create declare queue. So again, let's function, thinking about JavaScript, func, and then do r star RabbitMQ and say declare queue, right? So not sure what we're gonna do yet, so let's just copy and paste that in. So now this is to declare the queue, but we want this to have some parameters, so we don't want this to be hard set. So let's go ahead up here and say this takes a parameter called queue name, which is of a type string, and instead of hello, let's put the queue name there. And so it's complaining, if you see red under here, about the channel. So let's go ahead and use the channel from the struct. So we'll just replace this with r.channel. And we have a queue here, and then we have another error we need to handle. So instead of, again, fail on error, let's handle the error right here. And it's going to be fail to declare queue. And let's go ahead and write out what queue we tried to declare and print out the error. So we'll do queue name, and again, if this has an error, it will crash the program. So we don't really have to worry about any more error logic than what we've done so far. So we do want to return this queue. So if we look here over queue declare, you see it returns a MQ queue. So let's have this return a MQP queue, and we're going to return this queue here. All right, and also just to keep track, let's go ahead and create a map of queues here. So let's, just so we can have a way, maybe if we wanted to reference this later, and And this, like I said, we're gonna do something with this later. So let's just add a map that has all the queues that we define here. And so once we create that queue and it's all good, let's just do r.queues, and then for the string name, let's do the queue name and then set it to the queue. All right. And so next, so now that's going to declare us a queue and return the queue to us. So next, what do we do? So let's proceed on to our consume functionality. Since we're in receive, let's just go that path, right? So let's take all this code here and let's just create a consumer. So func our pointer again to the RabbitMQ and say consume, and we're gonna take some parameters, but we don't know yet, although I guess we do kind of know, and one of them is gonna be we're gonna take a queue. So let's put that in there, put the queue, and it's gonna take the MQ. Honestly, we might want to do a pointer here, but for right now, yeah, because that'll copy. So let's take a pointer to a queue for that one. So so we'll pass in a reference to that queue, and so here we start right off. We need a channel. So again, let's use the pointer, the struct pointer, and grab that channel to consume on, and then we will be able to get the queue name because we'll pass it in. Then we have an error here we need to handle. So let's go ahead and handle that error right there. So it says fail to register a consumer. So let's just paste that in there, and we can just say on queue, and then here we can do queue.name, and then we can print out our error, and with that, boom, that's gone. And at this point, we'll sit and we'll open a struct, kind of like we did again with the example. We'll open a channel struct, which again, this is anonymous struct, and it'll hold the program open while we just sit there and consume messages. So for the consumer, that looks complete. All right, so let's move on to a publisher. So this was all, we got all this from the receive main. So let's open up our send main, and again, we did all the same logic. The only difference was this part here where we published the message. So let's just take that and create over here right below this consume. Let's create another function that takes the R pointer for RabbitMQ and say publish, and this publish is gonna take something we don't know, but let's just paste in the code. So right here we got a lot of red for context and time. So let's go import both of those. So let's go up to the top here. Yes, let's go ahead and collapse some of this while we make it faster to go to the top here. And let's go here and we'll paste in context, and let's type in their time. So that should make those happy, and the rest are local things we need to handle. So this is one thing we're gonna want to replace. So let's take that as a message, and let's make it a string. So we'll set the body here. Let's do something like this. Let's put the time. So let's do something crafty. Let's put the time in square brackets and then put the message after that. So we'll do time dot now, and then we'll format it to time.rfc339, and then next we will put the message. So that will concatenate the time with the message. And here, if you notice, we have a little red here because it's looking for a channel. So look for our R pointer. Go ahead and use channel. Let's go ahead and handle this error locally here. So we'll say if error is not equal to nil, we'll do a log.fatal, and we'll put this message here. We'll cut that out of there and put it up here. Failed to publish message, and then we'll just write out that message there. Do error here. Context sensitive help isn't working because we got some extra parameters here. So if error is not equal nil, the other thing is we open that, and we need this one here. And why are we, what's wrong with this? If error is undefined, we need our define it and set it equal to that. Alright, and so now we will publish the message here, publishing, and then sent body will write out to the screen what we sent. We have a little reg here, we need the Q. So let's go ahead and, like we did up here, let's pass the Q to publish as well. Alright, so now we kind of got our two helper functions, and this video is already at 16 minutes. So now so we kind of built a struct here, and we have a connect, a declare queue, a consume, and a publish. So here's how we're going to simplify that with a few helpers. So real fast, let's say get RabbitMQ, right? Connection, right? And just create a helper from that, and that's going to return us a pointer to a RabbitMQ. So we'll say RabbitMQ, and the only thing we need to do is we'll take that queues and we'll create a map of strings of MQP. Let's see what else do we have up there. We had our connection, we had the queues, and that's it. So it did a map, we need to make it. Okay, that's why it's complaining. So now we got the R there. So then we need to tell it to connect. So we'll run the connect, right? And then let's just return R. That's all we have to do. Let's go ahead and create a pointer there. So then we'll come down here and we'll create another helper, and we'll say send message to queue, right? And then all we're gonna do here is we're gonna take a queue name, and we're gonna take the message both as a string, and we're not gonna return anything. So this is real simple, because all we're gonna do is say get RabbitMQ connection, and then next we just have to say, what do we have to do? We just have to declare queue. That's what we created. So, and that just takes queue name, and then we just need to publish once we have that. So we'll just do r.publish, and we'll we didn't set our queue here once because it gives it back. So we just want to do queue, and then the message. So we just pass in the message. So if you notice here, we got a red squiggly because we need a pointer to the queue. So we just throw an ampersand there and pass it by reference. Alright, so we pretty much gonna do the same thing, but this time we're gonna say consume queue, right? And on this one, all we need is the queue name, and that's gonna be a string. again, we're not returning anything, so pretty much the exact same code. Get RabbitMQ connection, right? And then we're gonna get the queue, which is r.declare queue, and we're gonna put the queue name there, and then we're gonna just consume it on RabbitMQ. So then we're just gonna say consume. The only thing we have to do is pass it the queue. Oh, we need a reference of the queue, and those are our two helper functions. So we did all that so we can go back over here to these lines of code here, and we can totally get rid of everything in here. We can get rid of this even. And all we need to do on our receive now is do RMQ dot consume queue, and then we just need the queue name. But how we're going to get the queue name is we have to get the arguments from the command line. So we'll say args is equal to os.args, right? So that's going to give us all the things we type in the command line, and we're going to do a little simple validation. We're just going to say if the length of args is equal to 1, that just means that all we see is the program parameter, which is the name of the parameter given, which will in this case will be like go run and main.go or whatnot, but we need the parameters after. So if it's only one parameters, let's just print out that's not enough pretty much. So we'll say something like no queue name given, right? And then do os.exit 1. But if that works, if we have more than one, that means we'll have 2, but we just want that second parameter. And so let's just do args and give that second, again, array start with 0 in computer. So let's grab that second parameter, which should be the queue name, and let's consume that, and let's pass that into this consume queue helper function, and it should start consuming on whatever that queue name is. So let's also write that out so you can see where we'll be consuming from. So we'll do fmt printf and say consuming from queue, and then put the queue name and create us a new line. So this would be args 1, right? And that finishes our receive. And so we can take that exact same code there. Wait a minute, something's not happy here. We say you got a squiggly line here. That looks good. Okay, so let's copy all of this, because it's going to be practically the same for the sin. So now let's go to sin. We can get rid of all that code there, and we can do this again, but it took away our package. So oh my goodness, things with the auto completion is dumb. VS Code. Anyway, so again, we imported the FMT package, the OS, and of course our RMQ. Here we have, because this is going to be our sin, we need the publish, or we called it send message to queue. So this needed a queue name and a message string. So one's going to be that, and the other one's going to be args too. So we're going to want to add just another little piece of validation, and there's several modules for Golang that handles this better, but I just want to give you guys the basics. So if the length of the args is equal to 1, then that means no queue name is given. But if the length of args is only 2, then that means that we're missing the message. So we'll say no message found, right? And again, we're going to test all this in 1 second so you can see how this works. So no message found, and then we'll exit, and then we'll say we'll just say publishing to queue, and we'll put whatever's in 1, and we're gonna send the message, and that's it. So let's give it a little whirl here. Let's test it out. Let's see what we got. So go run. Let's go ahead and start our consumer. So cmd receive main.go. Let's see what happens. Check it out. No queue name given. Perfect. But let's go ahead and create demo 25, for instance, and it says consuming from demo 25, waiting for messages. Cool. So let's pop open another terminal, and now let's do our send. So we'll say send main.go, hit enter. No queue name given. All right, let's put demo 25. No message found. So doing good. So we'll say YouTube rocks, and we'll hit that. Boom, it says publishing a Q25, and it's sent 2025 0725 2246 -5 YouTube rock. So let's go back over to our other terminal and look what it says. Received a message 2025 YouTube rocks. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool, guys. So what we did was refactor all the code so that we pretty much came up with 2 helper functions. Send message to queue. Let's go there. Send message to queue and consume a queue, right? And so all you have to do is pass them a string, and they're gonna do all the work. And again, for consuming the queue, all we do is we declare a queue and we consume. Declaring the queue is, again, we copy this code straight from the site. We just gonna declare the queue, and then we return the queue, but we also add it to the names. All right, so one of the things that we should do in these helper functions, however, is we did not end up closing the connections and the channel. So we should actually create us a close here, and this would add some better handling to how we handling state to those servers. So we'll say if r.con, right, is not equal to nil, then we're gonna say r.con.close, right? But before we do that, we need to check the channel. So we're gonna do the same logic. If r.channel is not equal to nil, then we're gonna say r.channel close. So we'll close the channel first, then we'll close the connection. And so to handle those both, just right here in these helper functions, let's just call the close, and that will handle closing of those connections, which again, make sure we disconnect correctly instead of just tearing down the TCP sockets. We'll do it more gracefully. So the logic really doesn't change. It just handles the underneath network connectivity. So this video is going on 30 minutes, so I want to go ahead and wrap it up here. Again, guys, if you like this kind of content, like, share, subscribe, smash that notification button. Let me know down in the comments. Any feedback, criticism is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys again for checking me out. Hey, more videos to come. Have a blessed day. Thank you.